Oh no.
two.
I have to grab my ice packs. Hang on.
Char's melting, people, and I'm sure
Oh
some of
my
you are
God.
too.
Oh man, if you're in Southern California, you know what I'm talking about right now. It is insanely hot. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have this natural glow just cuz, right?
Right? There's like a redness to my face, and it's not rosacea. It's just that it's so freaking hot. I've got the fan on me. I've got ice water. I've got ice packs. Doing what I can here, but my AC is not keeping up. And I'm on the upper floor of our house, so that makes it worse.
If we were on Babylon 5, we would be like literally maybe a deck above or right next to the fusion reactor. That's how hot it is.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my God, that's what it feels like. Oh man. So we're going to distract ourselves for an hour here to talk about all things Babylon 5 because that's what we do here in the Zocalo. I'm Shar. That's Norm. And today we're talking about B5 merch.
That's right.
What we want. The question we should never ask.
That's
What do
right.
we want?
I have to say, so BC goes like right into like a deep dive quote. Now, BC, if I'm reading this
I
correctly,
see it. I
right?
love it. I love it. I love it.
If I'm reading this correctly, BC, my friends, I am so pleased you are not dead. That's Sala, isn't it? From Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Now, okay, that's not the quote I was going for. Do you see the
Oh,
one above? Captain Sheridan is diving into a pit. Why is he diving into a pit?
Captain Sheridan's
Sheridan of
diving
the
into the pit.
Zahadum Mount?
That's right.
Yeah,
Because
or
he must
Cliff.
hug the pit. He must, because he's going to make love to the pit.
Yes. Why does he fall into the pit? Because he's in love.
Because he's
with
in
Delenn.
love. And you have these Minbari with their sinewy bodies and their fingers and tiny toes.
And their bony headpieces.
Bony head. Oh my God. So good.
Somebody, okay, internet, we have a new assignment for you. We need Sheridan of the Cliff, and it's Zahadum.
Right. You know, he's jumping in.
And tiny ears Earl adds. I love that. That's a great detail. Yes, that needs to get
Oh,
it.
that's so funny. Well, I'm so glad that everybody's here. Like, that's so great that you
Yeah.
all, you're spending your free time, your Labor Day weekend time with us. I hope you're more comfortable than we are because literally, I should follow my own advice. I'm sure your chair is probably a little bit like more comfortable than mine because my chair is the kind of chair that in this kind of heat, you should not be wearing shorts or boxer shorts because
Why is that?
because there's some
Yes.
thigh sticking. It's
Okay, the condensation. Okay, the moment I asked that question, I realized that's probably not a question I want an answer to.
it's thigh
Oopsie.
stickage. It's thigh stickage. It's just
Eh.
you feel vacuum sealed to the chair. So kind of like when you try to adjust yourself, you're in danger of like losing probably like the top 0.5% of your epidermal layer.
Oh.
Epidural
Right,
layer.
you don't need to
Like
be
that,
exfoliated right then, right there, but you're getting it.
Yeah.
Just rip a Band-Aid off. It feels about the same. Yeah. So we hope you're staying cool. I hope you're staying out of smoke if fires are near you, because once again, California is igniting on fire. And I know there's fires in Colorado. Hello to Terry Lynn.
Mhm.
So everybody, please just hang on, guys. Everything is just going straight to hell right now, it feels like.
But Terry Lynn, thank you for asking for the bunnies. They're doing okay. This room is cool enough, so they're not in super hot conditions. And I've shut like all the windows and the air conditioning's on, and they have water. And believe me, I do this a lot during our show, so they're okay.
I'm glad they're okay. My cats are outside the door right now. They're just sprawled out, trying to move as little as possible until this passes. Poor guys. They have ice in their water, and we're doing the best we can to take care of them too. So with all of that, let's say hi to everybody.
Yes. Let's see. So let's go all the way up the list. It's so
we have
funny.
Summer here.
Yeah. So okay. So Summer, you should keep yourself cool with the amount of tears you're going to shed this episode.
Yeah. Right? We're going to commiserate about all the things that we want that we cannot have. No.
Or were never even offered or put on a scrap heap. Right?
Missed opportunities. This is pretty much the crux of this episode. Yeah. And hello to BC and to Terry Lynn and to Mountains of Elysium and Earl. Yeah. And Patrick. Hello. And Super Dave. Good to have you all here. Thank you guys also for responding to my question in Discord, because for those of you not on there, I asked everybody who is in our Discord chat room, hey, are you guys interested in an episode given that it's Labor Day weekend in the States? Are you guys busy? Are you doing things? Because, I don't know what you're up to. But you unanimously voted, hey, look, yeah, I'm home. I'm here. Glad you're all being safe, by the way, because Labor Day weekend, with coronavirus, it's probably not going to end well in a couple weeks. We know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so
if
be
previous
safe.
holidays are any indication.
Yeah, exactly. Those are kind of like the milestones of like how this thing's gotten worse, not better. So if you're like in one of those places where there's going to be a bunch of like traffic and stuff like that, please stay away from there. I'm rocking something special today. I'm rocking a full combination of what I call the Jack Burton attire. I'm wearing my Jack Burton hat and my Jack Burton tank top.
Nice.
And if you're fans of Big Trouble in Little China, you know what I mean. So
there we go. Nice.
Also, tank tops are kind of like basically like my wardrobe du jour, because I every time I put on a regular t-shirt, I'm like, oh, first of all, I put on a lot of weight during this COVID, so I just feel fat as hell.
Yeah. And that's not good for right now, man. Nobody needs that extra layer. We don't need what my husband calls the winter layer. And I think we've all had a few too many quarantinis and probably stress aid. And I mean, you're not alone, buddy. You're not alone.
What goes in the quarantini? Is it a specific thing, or is it just a teeny with whatever you want to put in it?
It depends on the teeny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole variety. Yeah.
So is it like a martini?
Martini. Well, today I'm doing my usual. It's a shot of vodka with pomegranate schnapps topped off with Diet 7-Up.
That is your thing. That's a science.
It's delicious. Yeah, that or a white trash margarita, which is tequila, triple sec, and then we top it off with some low sugar lemonade. Because we don't have the sweet and sour.
I thought a white trash margarita was like basically shove a cup, basically a mouthful of crushed ice, and then just like have somebody pour like tequila in your mouth, and then like top it off.
And that would be a little more basic. That would be the get drunk quick margarita.
Yeah, what did I did this once. Once I did this, and it was spring break, and somebody else paid for it. So I said, "What?" Basically, I just said you should have paid for my hospital bill too. It didn't happen, but the upside down margarita. Have you ever done that?
No. What's this?
Okay, so you basically, it's a terrible thing. No one should do this ever unless you're 21 or younger. So you lay down, you lay your head down on the back of a bar, so you're basically leaning your head backwards. Okay. If you're a guy, and I'm telling you, I'm doing this for full transparency and honesty. You have the most barely clothed, super hot bartenders like lean over you for reasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yes.
Because you're basically getting stereo and 4K visuals. You know what I'm saying?
Extreme close up.
And then they just kind of like look at you. They do the eye contact thingy, and they just start pouring tequila and tequila mix right down your throat.
Wow.
Right until you give them your safe. Till you give them your safe word.
Wow. Dang. Yeah, there's so many things going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another show.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. That's kind of an overload of information, but I'm glad to know that that's a thing.
It is in spring break.
Well, there's a lot of things in spring break.
Yeah.
So, BC, getting into the comments. Yes, it is a hellscape outside. So that is why we are convening just as a nice distraction, just because. And Summer has an announcement, a positive announcement. Hey, Good. If you're willing to share, we would love to know good things happening in the world just because there is so much crap going on. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I am. I can speak the safe word with my eyes. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into that, can we get into the show? Because otherwise this is going off the rails so fast and we will lose control and we can't, man. We can't. We got to stay on topic. This is very important.
So before we do that, since we have our drinks in front of us and we're talking about drinking, which is usually how this show usually starts.
I mean, this is the Zocalo. Yeah. Okay.
So thanks everyone for joining us, and to you, Val2. My drink isn't nearly as complicated or as delicious as yours. It's just straight bourbon in an ice cube.
Straight bourbon?
Yep.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. And yeah, Summer, the white trash margarita does sort of sound like a Long Island iced tea with the lemonade aspect. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Announcement number 1, she says, my Hugo finalist pin is en route.
Hey, yeah, congrats to Summer, who is a Hugo finalist. Whoa. Congratulations, lady. That's amazing.
Finalist pin? Like a pin design?
Well, I'll let her explain what's going on. It's her announcement.
Announcement number 2, the book with one of my X-Files universe essays will be out October 13th. Awesome.
Yeah. I saw that on Twitter. That's super cool too. Yeah. Congrats, Summer. That is good stuff. Well done.
I love the... Oh, God, I'm going to go into another... I'm digressing all over the place here.
No digressions. No, not allowed.
All right. So let's jump into it.
Let's get into some merch. Yeah. Well, while we're talking about drinks and drink making, I think one of the most obvious missed opportunities in Babylon 5 marketing ever was Brevari itself, with the cool bottle, and you could have the alien logo, and then an explanation in human languages, excuse me, on the back for reasons, you know. But we needed that. You could get yourself some Brevari. That would be good B5 marketing. To expand upon this, though, I got to thinking, one of the very first, it might have been the very first thing of B5 merchandise that I ever got was a mug from you, Norm, which it's just got like the B5 sword and shield logo on it, and it's frosted on, I think it's a beer mug. I love that thing. So I'm thinking drinkware set.
Yeah. And drinkware sets are usually like where vendors kind of market their stuff, right? Say, with Star Trek Lower Decks, like they don't have a ton of stuff. Like a lot of the stuff is like third party market, but the official stuff, you have a glass, you know, with an etched USS Cerritos logo on it. You have a flask, you have a tumbler.
Sure.
There might be shot glasses, and then like a T-shirt. So you have more glassware than wear. Right?
I think for Lower Decks, don't they need some margarita glasses?
I would say because it's margarita
buffer time.
It's buffer time with margaritas.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
totally.
you know, so I also think that it's also really inexpensive to like source that stuff, and if it gets broken in shipping, then it's also
That's
easy
true.
to replace. So my friend and also a Star Trek expert, Jeffrey Harlan, who used to podcast with me on Trek FM. We used to do Standard Orbit together. He's like on Facebook, you know, he got his USS Cerritos mug, and it's awesome. It's just basically like your standard 16-ounce tumbler with USS Cerrito etched on it. And I'm like, yeah, like the beer mug that I gave you with the Babylon 5 thing, it's etched the same way, that frosted etching.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's fairly simple, but it looks nice. And especially when you have something like beer in that mug, it really stands out.
You know what also would have been cool would be in like pewter cup holders or coasters, you know, with the beef, like with a matching B5 shield on it.
That would be super cool, right? Yeah, if you've got like a frosty ice cold beverage, you need a coaster.
Yeah.
Take care of that. So honestly, if I were doing B5 marketing, that would be one thing I would do for sure, is some B5 drinkware.
Well, I mean, let's draw this back for a second. So why do you think that the WB didn't really market or promote the show in that way, speculation-wise?
I think overall, not just with drinkware, but with B5 generally speaking, and the PTEN shows like Babylon 5, they didn't get a whole heck of a lot of promotion. I mean, it was amazing when they got TV Guide to come out and do the photo shoot, right? So they weren't thinking a whole lot in terms of merchandising the show. We got action figures, there were some T-shirts out there, but even in the day, I didn't see a whole lot of it. Did you? I know you were more active back then.
I played, one of the big things was, and it was a really fun game until it wasn't, but the Babylon 5 card game was actually really, really good. It's a tradable card game.
Card game.
Yeah, it was a collectible trading card game, and this is like in the late 90s, where games like, you know, Magic the Gathering and even Highlander, which I played a lot of. Babylon 5 had its own game, and it came in like a starter set with you could either play one of the major races, or the League of Non-Aligned Worlds. And then it came out with expansions like the Psi Core and things of that nature. And what it was is that you would customize your deck from this pool of cards that you would collect, and then you would, basically try and meet this agenda that you put out. And then that's how you would win the game. And then you would bring in characters that allowed you to use their various abilities to meet those agendas. You would have all these machinations that were going on behind the scenes to nullify those characters, much like a TV show. So you played your own version of a TV show out in real time, which was a lot of fun. But the best thing about that is that these actually had really good high def screen caps for the cards. Yeah, and then one of the only reasons why I really collected this, because they also had chase cards that were signed by actors. So somewhere in my collection of stuff, I have one that was signed by Peter Jurassic,
nice,
and one that was signed by Tenchote. It was my Zathras card.
Oh, so, Zathras!
Yeah, so that was fun. And let's see. So I mean, aside from that, you obviously had the books that came out every once in a while. You had the best collectible that was out at the time. Actually, there's a handful of them. There were books. There was the Garibaldi security manual.
Okay.
So I still have that. These are things that I still have from my original collection.
That's awesome.
You have the Michael Garibaldi B5 security manual. You had the Making of Babylon 5 prior to TNT. It actually had a sticker that was put on the front of the cover. It says Season 5 exclusive coming to TNT or something like that. Oh, man,
nice. Wow, that's great.
Babylon 5 also had their fan club that you could write into, and then you would get an 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11 glossy photo of the cast, and I believe it was a season 3 black and white photo that people would bring it to conventions whenever they would find a character and then have them sign that. But you also got the Ranger pin as well.
Oh, now see, that's cool. That's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, and it's the only one. That one is actually the one that I have, and that was the one that's worth collecting because it has more of a realistic finish than like the one that's out there that usually has that flat turquoise colored.
Oh yeah, it looks fake.
The Isselzah stone isn't really that good, but the one that I have is actually really quite nice.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to look for the Michael Garibaldi guy because that actually ties into one of the products that I came up with for today's show. Mm-hmm. But no, that's cool to know. Just that there was a little bit, but I really think B5, just generally speaking, got shafted in terms of the sci-fi market because somebody in the comments mentioned Star Trek and Star Wars dominated a lot of the sci-fi merchandising that was out there in the 90s. I totally agree. Yep. I don't know if they thought that B5 merchandise wouldn't sell or what, but it's like they didn't even try before they failed.
Well, with Star Trek and Star Wars, I mean, you could go, especially with toys, you could go into like your Walmart or your Kmart or Gold Circles if you're in the Midwest, and you can sell them on the license alone. So buyers, they wouldn't be shy of buying that product because they know that they could plan their planogram of that set in the toy stores for that. So and obviously, you had the ships. Like Star Trek, you would have the ships, you would have the weapons, you would have the action figures, you would have the play sets, all that stuff, because you already have the vehicles. Like TV shows drive those kind of merchandise sales, like big time, right? So if the ratings for Babylon,
everybody knows those names,
exactly, and especially Star Wars. Star Wars created this whole monster. Right?
It's true. They really kind of got the ball rolling, especially with sci-fi. All the toys. I mean, they appealed to kids, and bam, money-making city. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as B5 goes, I get that the name recognition isn't as big. So maybe they had a smaller market, but B5 had a loyal following. Sure. Those who were there for it would have bought stuff especially if it was good stuff.
Right. Yeah.
If you're going to throw crap out there, fine. Yeah, I get why that's not selling. But if they put some thought into the merchandise, I think they would have had a better chance. Now, in the comments, I'm seeing a lot of things about like a variety of types of like wines and what sort of alien race could you associate with what. I think that's a great idea because we're seeing Star Trek doing that right now, where you've got like the Klingon blood wine that's coming out, and you've got the James T. Oh shoot, I forget. But like you have a whiskey, You've got bourbon. There's a vodka. There's all sorts of. You got Chateau Picard and stuff like that. I honestly think you could have done the same thing with Babylon 5. You could have had the Brevari. You could have had a Narn product. You could have had Brakiri, Minbari. I mean, you could have had a good series of them. And for collectors, you'd collect them all with the drinkware, right?
Right.
And have a complete set.
We did have Zima, so it survived.
You know, it all comes down to Zima, doesn't it? Zima always squeaks its way in. Maybe was Zima, when did Zima officially go down? I forget. Could they have had a partnership with Zima? Could we have helped them out a little bit? Could they have helped us a little bit?
You know, I think that Zima did have a partnership with the WB because, you know, you can't use their logo officially unless you have licensed agreements to be able to use that on screen. So there had to be some type of deal. And, you know, it's kind of like, they were probably like low on the totem pole when it came to, okay, you know, we'll throw you some advertising dollars if you put our product in your show. That's just an easy way of, and a cheap and easy way of getting advertising dollars because Zima was pretty desperate back then.
Sure. And I mean, it's a shame that Zima probably was not the best beverage. Now, if Mike's Hard Lemonade had come along or something and that had been better, I could see some possibilities. Like you could have a nice bright blue Minbar drink or purple or something or another, right? You could make it look alien. We could market it. It'd be great.
Now, I have to say, though, as somebody who has a fair amount of the action figure collection, they are quite good. And they do have a little bit of like upsell value because you don't only get the action figure, but you also get a mini version of a starship that belongs in some relevant way to your character, which is nice.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. The action figures were well done. I'm grateful that they did put some love and effort into those. I have a few, not the complete set, but they're great.
I remember when those things came out back in the day because they were usually bought like by the case. And when you buy stuff through a distributor, the perk is that if you buy it at the case level, you would get the case perk. And in this case, literally and figuratively, you would get the shadow figure. Earl says that too. The action figures are cool. I have nearly a full set, including the shadow, which was not easy to get because
that's the holy grail, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was like you would have to buy the case, and then you would get the shadow figure. Now, what happens when that happens is, or what happened when that happened, is the shadow figure was usually put like behind in like the special collectible cabinet in like a comic book store or something like that, and they would put that thing up for big money because they would offset the cost of some of their case of their case purchase with that figure. The shadow figure at one point in time was going upwards of $250.
Woo!
Yeah.
I mean, that's steep for a little plastic thing.
Yep. But
wow,
that's capitalism, baby. You know, you stick
it sure is.
You know.
Yeah, we should also mention something Summer just put into the comments about the micro machines. Those were a thing.
They were a thing, and they were good. They were nice little ships.
Yeah,
you know,
micro machines. I remember those and the really fast commercials where the narrator is just going a mile a minute. That was their thing.
It's so weird though that they would actually have like the Babylon 5 ships in a micro machines collection because I think that's micro machines is either Hot Wheels or isn't it Mattel, Matchbox, one of those things that made the micro machines. Anyway, but it's just one of those weird things where you're going through a toy store and you're like, okay, nothing, and then. What is this doing here? Why are Babylon 5 ships in a Micro Machines license? Right?
You know, maybe it was because they also did Star Trek Micro Machines and they thought sci-fi market, if Star Trek's going to do well, let's take a chance on this. And maybe it was one of those things where maybe they did try and maybe it only did okay. I'm not really sure.
Now, if you're a role-playing fan, Babylon 5 actually did really well in that market. And that really appealed to kind of like the real heavy, and I don't want to say this disparagingly because I am one, really heavy nerd community because they came out with great source books for all the major races. You could do campaigns. They even sold miniature pewter versions of the ships so you could build them, paint them, and then, you know, do your own kind of desktop space war. You know, with these ships. Ooh. And they were really good. They were really good. Like
nice.
A buddy of mine got some that were pre-painted, and the Minbari ships, the Charlene class cruisers, were really nice. You know, there you go, Charlene. Charlene class cruisers. They were really,
pretend
really
that's
cool.
me. They're talking about.
So they could have. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities for stuff like that. Like like the little miniature ships that come with the action figures, you can actually create like a tabletop space game based on the scale of those ships, which would be super fun. So you can have like White Stars go up against like say Drazi heavy fighters, or like Drazi Sunhawks, or Vree, UFO ships, like all that kind of stuff. That would be super cool.
Cool.
Right?
That is. That kind of goes into another idea I had, which is somebody mentioned earlier the canceled video game, which would have been great. You can hear the soundtrack for it on YouTube. It's called Into the Fire. And I thought, what about a B5 board game? What would that look like? To simplify it, you could even just not do the board game, no development with that. You could just go straight for either like a B5 chess set or checkers, and it could be Shadows versus Vorlons.
I think that
cool.
a B5 board game in say like the Monopoly kind of format would be super cool, right? Because
yeah, it really would, right?
Like utilities would be like like finding the first ones, or the Great Machine, or you could have
Earth Force wants to increase your rent, those dang bean counters.
Exactly. So that'd be actually kind of
fun. If Ivanova wants to shoot you out of an airlock, lose your turn.
There are a couple of really good questions here and I wanted to hit something with that Terry Lynn said, because we were talking about this. But guys, what do you do with these things on a shelf somewhere, or what? That brings up a really, really good point. We were both talking about that, Shard, you and I. Like, what do we do with these things once we collect them? Because collectibles, by and large, and I'm learning this the hard way because I have to move a lot of stuff because I'm packing up my stuff. How much is enough? How much is too much? What do you do with it? Do you buy it and put it on a shelf and never see it again? Does it collect dust?
Yeah, this is actually a big problem I have overall with a lot of merchandise for things like Star Trek and other fandoms that I enjoy. Is a lot of it is collectibles that are meant for display, and all they do is sit there and look pretty, and that's fine to a point. Like, I can understand the appeal for people who do like to just collect things and their completionists and want every bit of it. But I'm also the type of person that hates to see things gathering dust. It's just a pain in the butt. So when I want merch, I want something that either has like a really deep personal meaning, like there's a reason why I'm displaying it, or it's got to have a practical application. And I'm going to use it.
Right. That's the thing with collectibles. At least today, collectibles today are so well done. Sideshow Collectibles makes some of the best collectible, like statue type things, like busts or action figures, or really high-end action figures. And a lot of people buy those just to put on display.
Sure.
For what reason? I don't know. For whatever reason that they have. Case in point, this is my prize collectible.
Yes, the bust of Jakar.
Right. So this was done, and this is, you could tell by the mold that this was the gathering version of Jakar. You can see the angulation of his face. It's more reptilian and not as soft. This was done. This was like 3D, it's like 3D sculptures in motion or something like that. And Jakar was the only one that they did for the Babylon 5 collection. This Jakar. And if this is the only collectible I ever collected in my entire life for Babylon 5, I'd be fine. Because like every time I look at him, it reminds me of so much, right? I have him right here on my desk, and that's the thing about sometimes in the realm of being a collector, some people want to buy every single thing under the sun, but they're not like premier pieces, so to speak, like action figures, pins, patches, all the small things, right? Or some people will just want to buy that one thing, that one high-end thing that you're like, what? As soon as I can like find that and collect it, I'm done. That's all I've ever wanted. That's all I've ever needed.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, we might have mentioned this before, where there's like kind of like the holy grail of B5 collectibles that we would so proudly display. Now, I know Bust of Jakar is really good for you. What would be the one thing, like if you could have nothing else, what would it be that you would have as a collectible?
Oh, it would be the Book of Jaquan, without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, you know that.
For me, it might be the Declaration of Principles, which I think it was B5 Books that did that for a very limited run.
Very limited run, yeah.
And I didn't get one. and I would love to, but not today. Not at the price point. Now, okay, Summer has an interesting question. Will we have a chance to talk about collectibles that are merchandise?
For example.
How do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean? Please elaborate, and maybe we will.
But the Book of Jaquan, though, I always felt that thing, it just represents why I love Babylon 5. I love kind of like the whole theological slant of Jakar and Jaquan, and you had this, you know, this obviously militant leader of the Narn faction, you know, when he was the ambassador, but as soon as he got his clarity and his vision, he became this religious figure. And I always wanted because of the Book of Jaquan. You know, the Book of Jaquan is the one that set him on the path of finding the true enemy, not the Centauri, but the shadows. You know, the ancient enemy is returned. You know, that's very much kind of like, again, going back to like a Lord of the Rings reference. He's like what Gandalf did. Gandalf did his research and he says the shadows have returned, you know, and the ancient enemy, you know, is moving. And that's why I love that kind of an artifact. I also love old books. Like my favorite two textures or tones that I love seeing together is something very ancient and something very modern. And the best way I can describe it is like having like the most like your beautiful new Mac on like an ancient like an old driftwood table. That's the kind, you know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah. That's an aesthetic. Hot. Ooh.
Yeah, right?
I want to change everything about my office now. Yeah. Good thing I can't afford it.
That's that kind of thing, because like say in the future, like, you know, being science fiction fans, the things that I always love seeing in the future are antiques. Like when Kirk in Star Trek II, when he was given that book by Spock, right? You know, he put it on, and he's like wearing the
glasses.
Right, but everything around him is like super modern, like ultra tech.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, okay, speaking of books, I have a couple of ideas, and I know that there were some novels. And there apparently was a security handbook. I think they could have done more. Here's a couple of ideas. I agree with Patrick. Book of Jakar with Garibaldi coffee stain. It wouldn't be complete without it. Absolutely, I would pick that up. I would pay a pretty hefty price for a copy of that. But you could even simplify it. And again, I'm kind of pulling from Star Trek. Don't care, because it applies. So in the mid-90s, they put out a little book, like a little pocket type book, you know, fits in the back of your pocket. Quark's Rules of Acquisition.
Well, it's not like that.
Quark's rules, but the rules of acquisition as told by Quark. Right. And I think you could do things like life lessons as told by Jakar. And then you could have, you know, the co-author writing it. And so it would be kind of like a mini kind of Cliff Notes version of the Book of Jakar.
Yeah.
Come on. How did they not do that? It's too easy.
I know. You know what? And the thing is, you have to go. The obvious answer is that, you know, it's just license. You know, you have to find somebody who's going to do it. Are they going to pay to buy your license in order for them to turn a profit? What's the ROI? Blah 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 blah. But I wanted to kind of like jump into sort of like, you know, this is awesome because there's so many great ideas in the chats. But Summer says, props. I always wanted to get my hands on a PPG, a couple of data crystals from B5 and Crusade, etc.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing that I thought that, and I told Captain Jacqueline this at B5 Books, and almost every single email that we've, you know, had back and forth, which there have been many, I said, is there a way for you to create some type of collectible B5 data crystal USB stick that has the encyclopedia on it? I'm telling you, that would sell phenomenally. This
has been your quest for as long as I've known you. And honestly, if USB ports had been more of a thing in the 90s and B5's day, that would have been an amazing portable drive.
Exactly. And that's the thing with, like, in Babylon 5, the big kind of like ubiquitous, innocuous type of tech was the data crystal, because that's just how they like handled their stuff, you know, like in Crusade, you know, Max Eilerson, you know, he had porn on one of his data crystals, right? You know,
I mean, any kind of computerized technology, porn is the first thing people use it for.
What was that? So my little Pakmara? My little Pakmara? My little Pakmara was called. Awful.
Does any Pakmara porn, not the first thing I'd go for, but hey, everybody has a fetish.
Exactly. There's a thing for everybody out there. But I do think that, right, that's one of those kind of things where you could put on a keychain or keep around, and it's just conversation piece. Because, like, okay, so totally. I had this chat with
practical.
Exactly, because not only you could put the encyclopedia on it, but you could use it for other things. I was talking to Michael Kuda the other day about he put something up on his feed in Facebook about like isolinear chips, the props, and I said, wouldn't it be cool if there was like an isolinear chip style of USB stick? And he said there was for a while. It was very short-lived run, but there were.
Oh, really?
Of course there were. Oh, well, like it was probably like in the early 2000s and stuff. But
oh man, I missed that entirely.
Well, I'm sure you could probably find it on eBay, but that's the thing though. It's like an isolinear chip. It was something that was very signature to Star Trek. So, and it was in the same kind of like day glow green. It was awesome looking, right?
Yeah.
And that's when USBs were like starting to take off as being kind of like these portable drives. You could like, keep your, you can bring porn or whatever like that to your friend's house, stuff like that. But for the data crystals, that's a signature of Babylon 5. And it's funny too, because I'm watching Deep Space Nine, and I just did this episode where Cisco, he got shocked by taking one of those isolinear rods out of a computer. And I said that was their version, of a data stick.
Yeah.
And you could have marketed that too, right? An isolinear rod, USB.
Yeah. So, I want to say a quick hello to Colin. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Colin.
Glad you could. Yes.
Yeah. So
Patrick has an addition, by the way, to our book, like life lessons from Jakar. I love this idea. You could split, and the other half would be Londo's.
Like the ones, like the kind of books you would like flip over, like half of it would be like his, and the other half would, because literally, like Londo
and the more lighthearted side, and then you got the serious stuff.
Londo and Jakar are literally like the food equivalent of them would be a black and white cookie, right? It would
exactly.
Be
yin and yang, baby. You can't have one without the other.
Exactly. A lot.
I love Summer's suggestion. You'd have to have the Crusade soundtrack with the porn music. Yes, that's a must, isn't it?
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah. All of a sudden you have this great soundtrack by, and who was it? It was Ernie. Not Ernie. Was it Ernie Chan? Was that Ernie Chan?
Evan Chan.
Evan Chan. It would all end, and you hear this ding, bam, 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 yeah, at the end. Yeah. Thanks, Max.
So freaking good.
Well done.
Oh my goodness.
Here's the thing that I'm gonna have to say that is probably, at the time, it was probably the best collection of Babylon 5 books that was released, and those were the Jane Killick books of each individual season.
I agree. Those were good.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time like poring over those books because they had a small section in the middle that did have like color photography, but you had all different types of notes, and they were official.
Yes. Yeah, she talked extensive interviews with all of the actors, with JMS, and that all went into the book. I still love to crack those open from time to time. Just pick a random page and see what it says.
Right. Now, there are your handfuls of unofficial Babylon 5 books. There's an unauthorized book out there that's pretty good. But really, like B5 books, whatever they have left in their stock, it's worth it. If anything from B5 books, what anyone should really own, it would be the encyclopedia.
Totally. It really is an investment, but it's also worth it.
Oh yeah. And, with a 2-volume set with a purple ribbon and a green ribbon bookmark. I mean, that was beautiful.
That's genius.
That's so beautiful. Well done. And, a little inside baseball on that, Captain Jacqueline, she sent to the handful of us, the Rangers, that did some of the proofreading, because I had to proofread a section for one of the entries. I won't tell you which one, just in case there's a mistake. It wasn't me, but she did. But she did put out a poll to all of her Rangers saying, like, "What do you think of bookmarks, satin bookmarks?" I'm like, "Of course." And then she said, "What do you think about purple and green?" I'm like, "Why are you asking us these obvious questions?"
Right? Like, hello, you nailed it. Move on.
Yeah.
Mountains of Elysium has a really good idea for a book too, and it is a history book by Brother Michael from Deconstruction of Falling Stars. The history of the B5 universe.
Yep.
Oh, come on, that's fun. That's great. Good idea.
You had like what was it, Captain Sheridan with something, and then you had like Delenn the Wise and Marcus the Chaste, right? I loved that.
It would be really cool to have an accurate and nevertheless kind of like, how has time shifted their account of the things that we saw in the B5 universe? Like for a diehard fan, that's fun.
Well, it's like it's either with like Brother Michael with a foreword by Brother Alwyn saying like he's still learning. You know, he doesn't really know.
He's getting there, and it's
Yeah,
a primitive time. Yes.
we'll get
Speaking of
there.
books, I do have one more idea, and
Mm,
this actually spawned from the Office Ladies podcast. I don't know if you or any of
I
our
do.
listeners listen to that. Okay, have you listened to the episode where they talk about the person who did their hair? Because guess what? It's the same person who did hair on Babylon 5.
Hey.
And look at that bunny. Hi, bunny. So Kim Ferry is the person who did hair on B5 as well as The Office. And they very recently mentioned on Office Ladies podcast that they did a very intricate kind of like bun. Looked almost sort of like a blooming onion on Angela Kinsey. And so it's kind of like one of those things where they wanted to do something different. And so she had all these ideas for kind of alien looking hair, right? Because one of her very first gigs was on Babylon 5. And yet, for a lot of the human characters, she had to put a Vonnegut in a ponytail or a braid. She didn't get to have too much fun. And so they did this really intricate bun on Angela one day, and it stemmed from Babylon 5. And if you do want to follow her, she is on Instagram, by the way. It's Hair Fairy, FERRY.Kim. And she does have some behind the scenes photos. It's pretty cool.
Do you think
So
she did
anyway,
that one with remember we saw those promo pieces, I think it was season 3 where Claudia had that ridiculous perm going on and we never saw that since?
Oh, wasn't that prior to season 4? And then, or no. It might have been for Third Space even.
May have been.
I don't
may have
remember.
been. Yeah.
But yeah, what the hell was that? We never saw it again. And it wasn't Ivanova, man. I don't understand what's going on.
It really wasn't. My favorite
Perms weren't even a thing then.
my favorite hairstyle for both Claudia and for Tracy was when they had it like the full pulled back ponytail. I'm like,
Yeah, and especially like with the kind of the poofiness that Tracy had, that looked really good on her.
Yeah, she had a
Whereas
great.
Ivana was a little more, like let's just get this over with and get to work. It's very utilitarian. It fits the character. Anyway, that said, what if we had a Delen's guide to hair care? So you could have some tips on things like,
Conditioner?
taking good care of, like, yeah, what's a good conditioner for different hair types? Like, what if you have curly hair? What if you have frizzy hair? What if you have just completely unmanageable alien hair that you don't know what to do with? Get some starting points, and then have some really cool kind of out there hairstyles that you could either try on somebody else or on yourself. When I was a kid, I taught myself how to French braid.
Oh.
So I tried it on a Barbie doll first because I had a book of hairstyles. And one of the very first things I wanted to do was a French braid. I tried it on a Barbie doll, and then I learned how to do it on myself. And like for every day in the 6th and 7th grade, before I cut my hair short for the first time and hated it, I would put my hair in some sort of intricate hairstyle every day.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. So my child self would have bought this book and enjoyed the heck out of it, just doing things that nobody else would think to do with their hair. And I would spend at least an hour on this crap every morning.
I want to say hi to Thad that's joined us. Hey, Thad, how you doing, bro?
Hey, how you doing, dude?
Yeah. So I'm glad you're here. Nice to have you with us. We usually see Thad on a lot on social media with Star Trek related news.
That's
so
right.
I'm glad you're here. So, we're coming close towards the super back half of this episode. And I know that we have certain things that we really, really would have liked to have seen, like real merchandise ideas, like profitable merchandise ideas. So
sure.
I wanted to kind of like jump into that. Now,
okay.
One of the things that I've always really wanted to see, and I saw kind of what they were going for. You see it online every once in a while. It's a telescoping bow staff that's spring-loaded, and a lot of people like attribute that to the Minbari fighting pike. Sure. Spring-loaded or not, I still think that because you have like lightsaber collectibles out there that you can put on a nice stand, with real nice display features. I would have liked to have seen something like that, even if it didn't telescope, just the one that you would like put on your waist that looked like it was, aged like Marcus's, that was like handed to you like by Durhan himself, right? And it would just say Minbari fighting pike, and just nice. That's the kind of stuff that I love, like those kind of like ancient style collectibles.
As a prop, you can't get much better than that. And you know what I would do with it all day is just like,
yeah,
just like Marcus did it on the way to Mars.
Yep.
I would play with it for hours. It would be reflexive behavior.
If people saw that on your on your mantelpiece, they would have Pike envy, right?
Right.
Just like Steven. Also,
Totally.
I mean, I personally would like to have seen like a really super nice, I think Summer mentioned this before, a really super nice like aluminum manufactured PPG with real grips, like a superhero with a removable energy cap, because you got to palm that if you're going to like tear it up, you got to palm that. Right. But
yeah, honestly, like, why didn't they get into a little more of like the prop replicas? Like, for Star Trek, they had the tricorder and a phaser and stuff. You could have had a PPG.
Mm-hmm.
You could have had even like a Ranger costume. And this is getting a little hokey, but you know how like on the B5 merch store, they had masks for aliens? Hey, like for Halloween stores and whatnot, you could have that and people would just think, oh, it's some crazy alien, but it's still B5 marketing.
I tell you what, man, the funniest thing that I saw like with this was like when that Drazi in the B5 store like took off like a human mask and like,
right.
How much is this? I don't know. It takes off the mask. But those are the kind of things like I really want to find like those kind of like high-end collectibles. Now on eBay, there are a ton of like really, really well done fan made props. You have your BioLinks, you have like really, really nice pins and patches. As a matter of fact, I was working with a vendor off of eBay because I wanted to put together Joe's flight jacket from his interviews on the Lost Tales, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's a person who makes those patches, and I put them side by side with probably the other must-have collectible from B5 books, if you can get it, would be the B520, the B520 coffee table book, because the images in that book are phenomenal, and they have like all of the insignia patches that were manufactured for the show, for like the flight suits and things of that nature, in really high resolution quality. So I put my patches that she made in front of these pictures, and they were 1-to-1 accurate.
Wow.
They were fabulous.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're not going to get new B5 merch. Certainly not anytime soon, not without some sort of resurgence of the series. And we all know what it would take to actually make that happen because of licensure, blah, blah, blah. You all know the details. So really, the best way for merch to live on in the B5 universe is through things like fan art and fan-made creations. And thank goodness for 3D printers, man. They're creating some cool stuff like PPG replicas and the comm links and stuff like that.
If you go to Etsy and just type in Babylon 5 props, you'll find like a lot of really good things. I almost bought a PPG. Not quite up to I have very high standards when it comes to those. I mean, they're nice, they're resin cast, and you can like do your own finish on them. But I really would like to see. Okay, so for example, my number one prop for Star Trek, is probably the only thing that I really care about, is the wand company's version of the communicator. This thing is literally like the most amazing thing I've ever bought from Star Trek, because not only does it do everything that a communicator does. I mean, it has like the moire pattern that rotates. It has sound effects and all that kind of stuff. But it also like it links to Bluetooth, so you can actually take calls on this.
Oh, right. It's not the most practical thing from what I've heard, but if you're a diehard, it's still kind of cool.
Well, for things like this, and for things like if you did anything like that, like if you had like a BioLink, that would like Bluetooth link to your phone. All of the technology is there. It's just people don't read the instructions to make them work, right? I have. So
it's not as simple as opening it up and saying Kirk Biscotti.
No,
right.
but if you really wanted to make it work, you can make it work because the technology is there. So that kind of stuff I think is actually really super impressive. The other thing that is really nice is this like you saw, I don't know where it is. It's packed somewhere, but my Star Fury, the Revel model kits from the late 1990s, early 2000s, the Star Furies that come with a variety of different decals. So you could either do Sheridan's like Flying Tiger motif, or Ivanova's motif, or even a Black Omega motif. You can do that. Those are always great to have. But I do think that, if Babylon 5 were going to make a resurgence in merchandise, it would have to be like at the high collectible level. And I think that fans would have to do it because, again, the third thing in my must-have of must-haves, aside from the Book of Jaquan and the Fighting Pike, is Jakar's statue that all of his disciples were holding when they were, congregating at like Objects in Rest, I think, or Objects in Motion, I think it was the episode. Those bronze statues. I want that so badly I can't even stand it.
Speaking of things that I want, Summer has a really amazing rare collectible, which is an actual piece of Kosh. And she says Kosh is still in a small shadow box. Yes, I was being ironic. You gotta love it.
Well, I mean, that's from your days with Ardrite. Ardrite came on your show, right? So
yeah, on a show. Right. That's pretty cool.
So that also means that Summer has the right to hold a PPG up to Lita's head if she wanted to, right? Whoa. Because she too has been touched by Vorlon.
Oh my!
Yeah. Wow,
that's some power.
That scene is still coming.
Look out for Summer. That's awesome.
So Shar, and I'm not going to say money is no object, because when it comes to collectibles, you really kind of have to make and pick and choose like what you really, really want. And this kind of like goes all the way back to our first question. And I'd love to hear some of this from the listeners too. Like, what do you really want? If you had one thing to blow like an X amount of money on that you saved up for and you really want, and it's so precious to you, the kind of thing that you would run into a fire for to save, aside from your cats and maybe Patrick, so
yes.
Cats first, Patrick second.
Yes, let's be clear.
Yeah.
Top priority, yeah.
What would it be?
Oh, it would be one of two things. One, the Declaration of Principles, or an actual set used costume. And I know that they're out there. People sell them here and there. I would probably like Delen's green robe.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Would you have that on display, like on a mannequin, or would you put it in a frame? How would you do that?
That's the weird thing is I don't know what I would do with it, but if I had the money to just blow on something like that, I'd freaking get it just to say that I had it. And then, yeah, I probably would have to display it, because what else would I do with it?
Wear it?
I'd feel weird doing that, probably. Also, it probably wouldn't fit. Let's be honest.
So
I'm not a size 2.
I've always really wanted an Army of Light costume uniform.
Oh, well, that too. But I'd like to do that just for cosplay purposes. I mean, I could probably, if I knew anybody who sewed, you could find matches to the fabric and whatnot. It's just a project I've never taken the time to actually do. But in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to do that.
I'd be like Zach too. It's like, it itches.
It's because they made it out of wool, man.
But I really do love that uniform quite a bit, and I would have no problems like wearing that uniform or the Earth Alliance uniform, like at a Star Trek convention, because I'm that guy, right? I would love to wear it. You're gonna be
that guy, the guy who wears the Star Wars costume at a Star Trek convention, which our mutual friend Darren Moser did one time.
He did. He wore a stormtrooper costume.
He did
with a Starfleet communicator on his chest. I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
We took so many photos and just and you know what was the thing is not a whole lot of people gave us dirty looks.
Why would they?
I mean,
who cares?
Yeah, but nevertheless, we were kind of hoping somebody would want to pick a fight just for the photo op. Nobody bit.
You know what I wanted him to do? I should actually tell him this, and just in case he has spare stormtrooper armor out there, he should paint. He should paint like the TNG colors, like on it.
or if you can find a really big uniform, put it over the stormtrooper costume.
That'd be.
I know it takes a lot to get him into that thing in the first place. He's probably cringing if he ever hears this.
That's so funny though, but he would do it because he's awesome that way, right? But yeah,
my God.
I really would love, like if I could get those 3 items like on my mantelpiece, I would be like, that would be it. I wouldn't have to collect anything from Babylon 5 ever. I mean, actually, number one thing in your collection should be at all times would be the DVD set. Without that,
this is true.
And
you got to get the DVDs.
I actually had, I collected the original ones long ago when they first came out. Actually, I don't know why I got rid of them, or they got lost in a box somewhere. When you move, things get lost. Yeah. So I had the old VHS tapes when they first came out, the Warner Brothers VHS tapes, and they only came out in kind of like these triplicate packs, like usually like some type of like collection of stories. So there was never like full seasons. It was only like these like one-offs, right? So I had those for a while, but when those first sets came out, they were so great. They were like holographic covers, they were super thick. They looked great on a shelf. They just took up so much space. And there came a point in time where, anyway, I lament the fact that I let those go, because for the age of digital now, you stick them on I don't know, like a data crystal USB, just in case, to have them around your collection. I think though, if anyone wants to start building a collection, at least right now, of very significant things, the best things I think that people should really hunt for are the things that are probably, I think, that are most precious. And those would be like the convention videos, things where you can't get these stories anymore. They're not in print. Anything that has, they say, like Andreas on it, and Tim Choate, and Richard Biggs, and Jeff Conaway, any one of the actors that have left us, they're no longer here. Those are the ones that are rare and priceless to me.
Right, because you're not going to get any more. And in memory, still bright.
I'll too. But I would be remiss in not saying that if I had $1 bazillion to spend.
Oh, you're Jeff Bezos. Cool.
If I had Jeff Bezos money, and I told you this, and I can't say that I didn't because it was in a text. If I had my heart of collectibles, it would be if I could actually have the prop master for Babylon 5 build me the Kutari set from the episode Knives in season 2 in that velvet vacuform box with the Centauri carvings on it. Oh my God.
I could see that in your house for sure. That is a very norm appropriate collectible. I
would kill so many bugs with those. You have no idea.
Only if you take video, sir.
That's like,
only then. There is a bug.
There's more of them. There's more.
There are more of you. Yeah. I love Londo playing pest control agent. It's so good.
But with a sword that's like ceremoniously like one of the most important things to his culture as Cora Preto, right? So I always thought that was kind of neat that he has like, these ceremonial swords on his wall, but he grabs one just cause and kills a giant bug with it. I think that's freaking hilarious. Now, if we had our druthers and maybe, all the fans, if you emailed and bugged Eagle Moss from now until eternity, Eagle Moss would actually make really good versions of these ships.
It's true, they would. The big question is, could they get the licensure? Would WB even give them the time of day? No idea.
I have no
Probably
idea.
not. But if they could, they would make the most beautiful B5 replica along with all the other alien ships and White Stars and Star Furies. And boy, it would be tempting to get some of those. Not gonna lie, even if they do collect dust on my dresser doors, I don't care. I would get them anyway.
Well, those things would be like the kind of things that you would like. That's what I would collect. I mean, I would love like their version of a Star Fury. The Battlestar Galactica, the 1978 show, I love to pieces. And I've only collected the Viper because I think the Viper is one of the greatest designed ships like ever made, fighter ships. But if they could do, say, the Star Furies, Raider ships, White Star, things of that nature, like with that kind of quality, that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. It would be
beautiful. They do very good work there. That would be fantastic. Which brings me to the very last marketing opportunity I have on my list. So if I may.
You may.
So virtual reality is a burgeoning technology out there. I would love it. And this is purely my fantasy, right? Going into a Star Fury where you are on the VR set and you are and you're flying a Star Fury in a battle of some sort, Pew, 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 pew. It's an action thing. You've got a mission. You kill so many things, blah, blah, blah. And then you get to fly back in and dock with Babylon 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd
I mean, that's kind of like what happened to Bo, right?
Exactly. You could put yourself in the Star Fury pilot's shoes.
Right. Yeah.
Or you could even be Lieutenant Keffer going out there and spotting shadow vessels. Ooh.
Before you get killed.
Before you're dead. Yeah. Do you get the mission data out there or not before you're dead? It's up to you.
See, I think that's where, say, role playing actually kind of takes like a really good a precedent right now with where we are at with kind of like online interaction. If people wanted to, like, say, put together like the role playing game, there are rules for like all of the different races. You can roll, you know, the character that you want. Oh, here's another one of the last things also that I would love to have. I would love to have Talon's sword, because first of all, it's a great looking sword. I mean, it's basically a katana, you know, but and signed by Marshall Teague, of course.
Well, how can you not?
Yeah.
That would be pretty badass. One last question, and then we should probably go because it's time.
Yeah.
This is from Mountains of Elysium. If you had the Jaquaneth plant, would you have used it as intended to meditate, or as Londo did, as an additive to his alcohol?
I can see that as one and the same thing.
I kind of see a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Is that a cheat? You know,
I hope not.
Because, you know, both, if you do both right, they bring you to a complete different sense of enlightenment.
Exactly. I mean, there are good purposes for both.
So
yeah.
For collectibles, Shar, if you had to walk away with something like right now, like say, boom, this is it. This is what I want. Final answer. This is the, like, you know, you're on a desert island. You can only save one thing in all of your Babylon 5 collectibles to stare at for eternity. What would it be?
Of the things that I actually have?
No, it's just say like you had everything, but you could only save one thing. I have everything.
Right. But I can save one thing. I would still save the DVDs so that I could continue watching.
Ah, sharp. Very smart.
Look, you know what? That at the heart of it all is what matters, is remembering the legacy of the show. Everything else, I would hate to say it. I mean, I would be sad if it went, but don't you mess with my DVDs.
See, when you,
not those.
Because the thing is, when you watch those episodes, then you can just, you know, cry tears of right? all the things that you're like, I had that, I had that, I had that.
And then it's all gone and it burned in a fire and my life is shit now, but I've still got Babylon 5 to watch.
Yeah. So there you go.
So it's not all bad. Whatever it is, it can't be that bad.
It can't be that bad. Yeah, BC.
Unless we forget, guys. It's all stuff.
Yeah, BC, keep thinking about that remastered Blu-ray box set, because
someday, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but let's keep dreaming, can't we?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see that too. I would love to see that too.
We all would. We all would, and we would all buy it.
That is literally like the holy grail filled with unicorn tears. Right? That's right? How rare that thing is going to be.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, okay. There have been so many good comments and we didn't get to all of them. So I'm really sorry, guys, but there's been such good stuff in the chat. Thank you guys all for joining us, and especially over Labor Day weekend. We really appreciate you taking the time and chiming in. You're all so much fun. And if you are not in Discord and you want to be, I'm going to post a link into the chat very soon here. I'm working on it right now.
You know, the great thing is, Shar, is that when we started this, and we've been doing this for close to 3 years now, we're going to be coming up on our...
Two.
Almost two. We're going to be starting our 3rd season soon.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
You know, we were always kind of like fighting for like the onesie twosie audiences, and it's been great. And we've loved everyone who's been with us. But it's nice.
You guys are all fantastic.
But you know, at one point in time, we were at 11 live viewers. That's pretty outstanding for us. And I think
for a live show, it really is. I mean, a lot of people come back and watch the replay. But those of you who are here with us right now, that means you took the time deliberately to look at us.
Yeah.
Which is both a little scary and a little flattering at the same time, if I can be perfectly honest.
I'm glad that everyone was here, and I'm glad that everyone obviously is kind of like in the same boat that we're in. You know, we love Babylon 5, not enough Babylon 5 merch, at least that we would have liked. And I don't know if...
That's why we did this topic.
Yeah, if anyone has friends out there that are artists or artisans or people that are like, you know, really good with machinery or really good at just putting things together, creating things, just float them an idea and say like, hey, I got an idea for something. What do you think? You think can we make it happen? And if they do, and it's really good, let the rest of us know. And we'll throw a couple of Centauri Ducats their way.
We could throw some business their way and make some things happen, do some serious cosplay so that when we can do conventions again, oh hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I am looking forward to that. I really am. I'm hoping 2021 will be a different kind of year and we can all get together in person again, those of us who can go, when we can go and where we can go, and enjoy it and come together. In the meantime, we do have our virtual spaces here. Thank goodness. Because otherwise I'm not sure if we would be coping even as well as we've been able to. You know, it'd be very lonely without you all.
So thanks everyone for joining us on this Labor Day special edition of the Zocalo. Thanks for giving us your valuable time, your friendship, and your fellowship here. And you can always continue this conversation even further into the Discord chat, where we're having like a lot of great conversations all over a lot of different topics. So that's pretty much it for today. So until we see each other again next week, same Babcom time, same Babcom channel. Right?
That's right. We'll announce a topic shortly. And in the meantime, yeah, head over to Discord. A lot of people do go into the chat afterward. I'm personally going to do dinner, but you guys have fun.
Right. So I know, me too. I'm going to have dinner. Maybe I'll jump into the chat later. So thanks everybody for joining us. And until next time, be seeing you.
Bye, everybody.